What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, and welcome to another panel show for you guys on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. Christmas is just around the corner, but we have a lot of Tottenham to talk about before we all start getting our presents in. To join us on the panel show today, we've got Ashmatic from South Ucoys. Big up to you, Ash. Hope you're doing well. And we've got Stel from Tottenham Away as well. Big up to you, Stel. Thanks for joining us on today's panel. We'll start with you, Ash. How are we doing today? Spurs back off the back of a couple of wins, getting back to winning ways. Are you feeling better about life now?
Yeah, man, it's getting to that point of the season where we've got a couple more games left. I'm looking forward to the close, to be fair, just getting things done. We're on track at the moment. We haven't got our full strength team back. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, especially rival fans, but we're coping, and that's what that matters. So I'm happy for boys.
Big up to you. And Stel sporting the lovely hat. I'm liking that hat that you got on there, Stel. What's it say on it? I can't quite make out.
It says, "Come on, you Spurs."
Come on, you Spurs. Of course it does. Big up to you. How are you feeling at the moment? 2 wins on the trot now. Feeling a lot better about it. Look, I remember watching your video coming on the channel just after the West Ham game, saying, look, don't get too worried about the result. The performance is there. And since then, we've won 2 games on the trot.
Yeah, look, thanks for having me on. Hello to everyone watching the show today. Big up to you and Ashmatic. For me, it's a case of, after the Chelsea game, I just came to the realisation that this isn't about trophies and silverware this season. That doesn't mean it can't happen. It's just what Ange did in that Chelsea game said to me, he's trying to install a culture, a way of playing, a style. And this is the foundation year. And every game I've watched us play, except for Wolves, I can see what they're trying to do. That's why I'm not in a panic. And listen, I'm the biggest, most impatient Spurs fan out there. That's why, I've had my stance on the ownership and I've had my stance on enough is enough. But with what I'm seeing from Ange, I'm seeing someone that's got a plan. And I like it. So that's why I came on after that show and I said, we need to relax with the criticism and just calm down, Spurs fans. Let's just see how this pans out. Listen, 6 points off the top of the league, and we've had a barren period. So that's got to say something about what's going on.
Yeah, it's amazing. Liverpool play Arsenal on the weekend, and we play Everton. If we do beat Everton on Saturday, then we go 3 points behind top with the top 2 playing each other, which is extraordinary to think about if we can get that win, although that's not guaranteed at the moment. Talking about what Stel was saying, Ange implementing a style and all these kind of things. Obviously, on Friday night, we were 2-0 up, in control of the game, and Bissouma gets himself sent off. Yet again, another scenario this season where it's not just with cards, but it just seems to be, it's happened quite often now this season where we've been in control of games and then we do something stupid to put that result in jeopardy. Now, luckily, on Friday, it didn't go against us, but on other games, it has gone against us. But I'll go with that to Ashmatic first. Do you think this squad or team at the moment has a discipline problem? Is there a problem or a concentration problem, should I say, at the moment? Because it's now becoming a bit of a pattern, not just with certain players, but it's becoming a pattern where Tottenham are playing well, in control of games, and then they just do something stupid to put that result in jeopardy, whether there be a bad mistake on the pitch or a red card or a stupid challenge. Is it a pattern you're seeing, or do you think it's nothing to be concerned about at this point?
I think it's a style of play, to be fair. I think with Ange, he wants the players to play on the front foot, and especially the defensive players. He doesn't want them to pull out of 50-50s. Before, Spurs have been looked at as soft underbelly, soft touch. And now all of a sudden, we're going at teams, we're being a lot more aggressive, and we're trying to win those challenges, and we're trying to ask the opposition questions. So if we'd have pulled out a 50-50 challenge and then all of a sudden it leads to a goal, then what? Then we look soft all of a sudden. And so I looked at the table as well in terms of how many teams have been fouled the most, and Spurs are at the top. We've actually been fouled the most out of all the Premier League teams. So that goes to show me: do we have a discipline problem, or is it that the style of play that we play and we're getting fouled quite a bit? Do you know what I mean? Because there's been a lot of challenges that have been unnoticed from certain referees. I don't want to go down like blame the referees. Don't want to do that. But I'm just saying the style of play, it is what it is. Like in terms of bookings, we are like the third highest, I believe, or joint third highest in terms of yellow cards. And I think when it comes to red cards, we're in the top 5 as well. But
We're 4 reds. I don't know if anyone has more than that, do they?
oh, yeah, well, this is why I said I didn't remember if anyone had it more or less. So I didn't want to quote that one. But I knew that in the yellows, like we were thereabouts. But going back to my point, I just think because we are we're playing a lot more aggressive. And I think it's the players, they need to acclimatize to the style as well. There's a lot of young players that are getting bookings. And some of the bookings we are picking up, some of them are descent. They're not all like challenges. So you've got to take that into context as well. Some challenges could be avoided. I think there's times where, like you've mentioned Basuma, he might put it through someone's legs, but then he might lose the ball in the second phase of play. And then he's got to foul that man, because if he doesn't foul him and pick up that booking, then that might result in a goal. And then I look at the players behind Basuma. When you've got someone like Ben Davies, who has been doing well, to be fair to him, but he hasn't got the pace of Mickey van der Ven. I don't know if Basuma trusts him the same way he trusts Mickey van der Ven to try a thing. Because Ange is like, look, make the mistake. If you make the mistake, it's on me. It's not on you. But at the same time, if Basuma is trying to take that player on and trying to be front-footed and being more brave and more aggressive, and that's what Ange is like wants the players to do, then maybe he's thinking, if I lose it here, we could end up losing the game. Do you know what I mean? And so I've seen Basuma do less take-ons than he did when he first broke onto the scene this season in the first 10 games. So you compare it to the last 5 or 6 games where people have been like, Basuma's not being the same. I'm thinking that might be something to do with it. Do you know what I mean? So that's the reason why I'm thinking maybe, like in terms of your doggy's always on the half turn. Your doggy's always pushing forward. He's always trying to make things happen. But again, like apart from maybe the Chelsea game, I thought, geez, that was needless. Like the 2 yellow cards there. I wouldn't say your doggy's got a disciplinary problem. Do you know what I mean? I know obviously Romero, before when he was partnered with Mickey van der Ven, up until then, he had like hardly any yellow cards. Do you know what I'm saying? That first 10 games, it was hardly yellow cards for him or Mickey van der Ven, or even fouls. I think in the first 6 games, I think they committed like 1 foul between the 2 of them, which was incredible. So it depends on who's playing alongside who, and sometimes like the referee. So I'm not gonna lie, sometimes it depends on the ref. I'll be real, but that's how I see it, man. I don't necessarily think that Tottenham are a dirty team and we need to change things. I just think the players are just adjusting to the style, and then along the lines they will pattern up. They'll get it right as the season goes on.
You say it depends on the ref. I'd also say it depends on the VAR as well, because, there are challenges that I've seen that have been fairly similar to Romero's one against Chelsea, which haven't been called up by the VAR yet. The VAR went back to Romero's one and gave him a red. Going to you, Stel, what do you think Ange would be thinking about the current situation in terms of disciplinary record? Like, would you reckon he would see it as a concern and something that really needs to be addressed, or would he see it as a consequence of how we play?
I don't think there's a disciplinary issue. I think this is just a short-termism outlook by a lot of fans to just have a talking point. I heard something similar a while back. Ange is naive. No, he's not. He's proven he's not. And now it's Spurs have got a disciplinary problem. No, we don't. There's a number of factors at play. The first one is, if you go back to the vintage Premier League days when Arsenal and Man United used to go at it, those games were explosive. And Spurs are basically a team of that kind of era, but in the modern game where we're not having it from anyone. If it's going to be a battle, we're going to battle. And that's why no team this season, not one team, has battered Tottenham, other than Chelsea when we were down to 9 men. But when we've had 11 or 10 men on the pitch, nobody's battered Tottenham. And it's because we play with that aggression, like Ash has said. Mourinho famously said, we need to be a bunch of you know what. Well, you know what? We're kind of being that now, and that we've got fight. We've got a bit of Sparta in us at the moment, and I like that about Tottenham. I don't want us to be pushovers. The other thing as well that I think has come into play is we I think are slightly being targeted here. And I'm not trying to justify our red cards as, oh, it's only because we're being targeted. But I do think Spurs are being targeted, especially Romero. I watched the Chelsea-Newcastle game last night. Guimaraes has literally gone right through a Chelsea player. That's not a red card. If that was Romero, they'd be calling for his head. Then Mudryk goes and strangles Guimaraes. If that was Romero, they'd want him suspended from football for life. After a couple of minutes in the game, Caicedo goes clattering into a challenge. If that's Romero or Bissouma, people are saying, rash, out of control, send him off. But those players don't get those red cards. And I think we've been a bit unlucky. The yellow card that Bissouma picked up against Wolves, if you look at all the tackles in that game that went without a yellow or a red, how's Bissouma been given the yellow? And then I look at the Udogie yellow card against Nottingham Forest. It's not a yellow card. And you think of the challenge that went on Oliver Skip, nothing. And I just feel that, look, it swings in roundabouts. You win some, you lose some. We got the rub of the green against Liverpool, so I'm not complaining about it. I want to make that clear. I'm not complaining about it. But I don't think there's a disciplinary problem at Tottenham. I think we're an aggressive side. We're not going to get battered because we've got that aggression and that fight. We've been a bit unlucky with some decisions. Some things we deserve, without a question of a doubt, we deserve some of the red cards. But I think we've also been very unlucky with it as well. I don't think there's an issue, guys. And you know what? This will eventually go away as the season goes on. So that's kind of my perspective on it.
Just on a side note as well to what you were saying on our Tottenham being targeted, I read a stat that says apparently 42% of Romero's fouls have ended up in cards, which is quite an astonishing stat to think about. 42%. That's very high. Like nearly 50% of his fouls gets a card, whereas 13% of Saliba's fouls ends up in cards. Maybe you would argue his fouls are not as dirty as Romero's, but I do think that's sorry, I do think that's quite an interesting stat. But going back on the question, Stel, maybe a discipline problem is the wrong question, but is there potentially a concentration problem or a problem with us making things difficult for ourselves? Because there does seem to be a pattern of Tottenham playing well, getting ahead, and then once we're in control, doing something, whether it be a red card or whether it be like a stupid mistake on the pitch that gives a goal away, that allows the opposition back into the game. Is there a pattern that you can see on that front? Just kind of shooting ourselves in the foot a bit sometimes.
I think there's a lack of intelligence. So, go back to last season. Do you remember Emerson Royale's foul against Arsenal where he got a red card?
Yeah.
Where he made that challenge. Okay. Did you need to make that kind of a challenge in that position on the field? No, you didn't. Where's your game intelligence? Bissouma has gone into a tackle against Nottingham Forest. He's missed the timing of the bounce of the ball and he's caught the player. Now, did you need to go into that tackle in your head knowing that if the player wins the ball and potentially goes past you, the team might be in trouble? Why can't you just pull his shirt and pull him back and take the yellow? Take a yellow card, just pull his shirt. But we seem to make these poor decisions, and I think it's linked to just a lack of intelligence in the heat of the moment. So I would say that is more the case. We're just lacking Euros when Chiellini pulled back Saka by the shirt collar, and everyone said, that's a disgrace. What's he doing? Well, he was very, very intelligent. I'll take the yellow card because they're not going to give me a red for that. It looks bad, but it's a yellow card. That's an intelligent piece of, let's call it dark arts. We're not being intelligent when we are committing to these situations. And I think that's what maybe Ange needs to have a discussion with the players about. Just can we be smarter when we are going to take one for the team rather than just putting us into deep trouble by picking up red cards?
Yeah, exactly. No, I completely agree with that. I think maybe a bit of game intelligence, a bit of game management. I think that may look, and I completely agree with you. Still, we're very young, in the project. We're still a very young side, and just still, basically we're at the very start of this project. So it's not going to be 100% perfect within a few months. So there's going to be teething problems, but I definitely think at the moment we're very much controlling games. We're playing good football, and I'm loving the football we're playing, creating chances. I think by and large we're actually defending quite well as well in most games. But I definitely do see a tendency that when we're in control and we see the result in sight, to basically lose our heads a bit, or kind of lose concentration, or lack a bit of game management, just to make sure, like, don't do anything stupid, don't make a mistake, don't overcommit yourself, don't do a bad challenge at Basuma, because it's happened multiple times now this season, where we've been having a good game and we're on top, and then just we do something stupid, and then all of a sudden we put the result in doubt. But not every time has the result gone against us, thankfully. And we are in an absolutely brilliant position. If I would have told you, comes the 17th game of the season, would be 6 points behind top of the table with the potential to cut that gap on the weekend. I mean, I think we all would have taken that, wouldn't we? So we're in a brilliant position. I don't think we can have too much to complain about as Tottenham fans, for sure, with how the season has gone so far. Even though, off the back of those 5 games where we went ahead and didn't win, it definitely didn't feel like that. Moving on to the next topic, I want to talk about, Ash, you touched on it a bit before, and that's Ben Davies. Obviously, when Van de Ven got that injury, everyone was very concerned about who's going to fill in a centre back, basically, or left centre back during the time that he's out, and there was a lot of concern about our defence at that time. But Ben Davies has come in, and I don't think has really had a bad game, to be honest, himself, ever since he's come into the side. And maybe I think against Villa, he might have struggled a bit against Ollie Watkins. But other than that, I can't think of too many games where I come out away with it thinking what a bad game he's had or anything like that. I think he's had a really good game. But the question is, does he deserve maybe more credit from the fan base? Because he always gets lumped in with Dyer and all these other players maybe who are basically who basically embody the club being held back in some sort of way because they're still at the club and we have to move on from these kind of players. But do you think maybe Davies' performances in recent weeks are a counter to that narrative? Or do you think maybe he's had a few good games but he's still a player that shouldn't have a long-term future here?
You know what it is? He's steady Eddie, as everyone calls him. You can't be mad at him. At that Wolves game where he came in, after that man's Chelsea game when we got all our players injured and sent off, blah, 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 he's had to step in. He's had to be professional. He's not done interviews behind people's backs or blah, blah, blah. He's just been Ben Davies. You see what I'm trying to say? He's come in, and I think at that Wolves game, he was probably one of the other players that was yeah, he was all right. Didn't do too bad. He did actually okay. So I think from that Wolves game, and then after that, like you said, we had Villa, Man City. I think the Man City game, he was all right as well. So after those games there, he's just done a job. He's literally done it. And we were nervous because we know he hasn't really got pace like that. But where he's been a little bit smart and he's used his experience, I think he's timed his runs to a T, where he knows that, okay, against Newcastle, these guys, they're a little bit quicker than me, so I'm going to have to be ready and I have to be sure. As soon as that ball goes over the top, I need to run. And he makes that important challenge where it could have gone into my man at the back post and he could have scored a goal when we were playing Newcastle at home, so against Isaac. So I just think, we need to improve on that moving forward, because to be fair to the brother, he's been in 9-10 years. 9-10 years. Thank you very much. No disrespect. You're a lovely guy, Welsh guy. You've done your country service proud and whatever. You've done us proud. But it's just time to move on. That's what I think. If we're going to go to the next level and we don't want that kind of drop off, I think Ben Davies, everyone agrees, squad player, I think we can improve. We want players that are fighting for places. You want to improve your Van der Vens. You want to improve your Romero. So whoever comes in, there's not such a drop off, especially when it comes to cup competitions, because I think that's the reason why we've been flopping of late. When it comes to cups, we haven't won any cups for how many years because of that. The drop off's too much. So, but since he's come in, you can't be mad. You can't be mad. Some people may argue that, like, he's done all right. He hasn't done super well. He's just done his job in terms of, like, there's some times I've seen in the air. He hasn't won every single aerial challenge, but more time, like on the ground duels, he's done his thing. He's passed out the back fairly well. My critique of Ben Davies would be he needs to be a bit quicker in making that decision. He's a bit slow. Sometimes he's not sure of himself. And so that can slow down our attack, because when we're trying to build out from the back, we kind of need those balls a bit quicker, a bit faster. So that's all it is with Ben Davies. But yeah, my hat goes off to him. Fair play, man. He's done his job. He hasn't complained, and he's just helped us when we needed. And I thought it was going to be more of a drop-off, but he's been one of the better players that has come in and done the job, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, go on.
No, but we do need to replace him, though. We do.
Yeah, in terms of what you're saying, your criticisms, I always think pace has probably not been ever Davis's forte, let's say, which is fair to say. Still, it's 2023, and we are still talking about Ben Davies. So, for you, what does that say about the club? Or do you think, he's rightfully still here based on merit, and the last 5 games show that?
Sim, I've always got an opinion of you, something to say, but there's nothing I can add to what Ash just said. Like, everything he said, I agree with. Like, everything, even the bit at the end, but we still need to replace him, but you can't hate on him. Everything he just said, I agree with. I don't know what more I can add to it.
Fair enough. But do you feel like with Ben Davies, his contract is coming up in 18 months? Obviously, the at the moment, I guess the talk is he'll probably see out his contract and maybe leave on a free. But for you, is there anything he can do at this point to earn a new deal?
No. If we're going to be serious about winning major honours, we need players that come in and can potentially fight to start, replace Romero, replace Van der Ven. You look at look at our competition, Man City. They've got an array of top defenders. I know they're not having the best of times right now, but they've proven over the last 5, 6, 7 years, they've got many good defenders that they can turn to when in need. We need to start building up that squad. This has been our Achilles heel under Poch, under Redknapp, under every manager, even Conte and Jose, whether fans like them or not. We've never had that squad in depth where you don't worry. Like, let's be honest, when Ben Davies was going to start games, we all worried. Mm-hmm. When Eric Dyer was going to start games, we all worried. Ben Davies has clearly stepped up and he's doing really well as the backup. But the fact that we worried says it all. And I think that when a player comes on the pitch, we shouldn't say to ourselves, oh no, if you're saying that means there's a problem.
But is that justified? Based on his last few appearances, is it justified, excited. Maybe, that response?
Over the long term, it is justified. As a short-term stop-fill whilst a player's injured, he's proven us all wrong. Or he's certainly proven me wrong. But would I trust Ben Davies to be our centre-back for the remainder of the season? No. I want Van der Ven, because there's a massive difference between those two. It's not even close. But Ben Davies has come in and done a job. And Nash is right. We can't hate on him because he has done a good job. But we need the kind of competition that excites us. The kind of competition where we feel, yeah, all right, Maddison's out. Okay, Romero's out. Okay, Son's injured. No problem. If we can start saying that, we can have a serious conversation about winning big trophies.
Yeah, I completely agree. I agree with both of you. I think I've really appreciate what Ben Davies has done over the last few games. I know throughout Spurs' career, but I think we were all very concerned about him being able to cope with the demands of what we ask of our centre backs at Tottenham since Ange has come in. And I have definitely been pleasantly surprised with him, with his ability to step up and actually, I think last game was probably man of the match or very close to it. He had a brilliant game. Again, against the likes of Newcastle, he was brilliant. Even in the games where we haven't been winning, I thought he's had a really strong performance. But at the end of the day, has he done well as a centre back, or has he done well like for him? And I'm not really sure which one it is. Like, I think he's played a really good game, but are we just? I kind of feel like I'm not saying he hasn't done well just as a general level, but I do feel like we're maybe giving him a lot of praise because of how concerned and how much he has surprised us, as opposed to we're saying what an amazing game he's having as a general centre-back, if you know what I mean.
Tim, do you know what it is, right? So if you take into consideration the way Tottenham are trying to play, what is Ange ball and understanding Ange ball, Ben Davies does not suit that style of play. When I watch Romero, I see a very calm, very composed player on the ball. When he's on the ball, I never worry. He'll find that pass. He'll thread that ball between a couple of players and get it to feet. Even at the back, quite often. I know people will call him rash and say he's crazy, but most of the time when you watch Romero, he doesn't go into sliding tackles. He'll stay on his feet, watch, and then he pounces and he just nicks the ball off your feet. There's that calmness about him that suits the way we play. And then because he nicks it off you, rather than clearing it, he can then begin the transition from defense to offense and begin the build-up of play, and we progress through the lines. And he can carry it forward and be part of the attacking play. That is exactly what Ange's system requires. Ben Davies, if you want someone that's going to put his neck on the line, throw his body into a tackle and win it, put those defensive blocks in, yeah. But is that the main requirement from a centre-back in an Ange ball system? For me, no. And I think that's what it comes down to, Sim. I don't think he's the ideal type of player for the system and the way we want to play going forward. Whereas Romero and Van de Ven, for me, they tick all the boxes for the way we want to play.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think Davies has done really well considering the circumstances. But I do agree, when push comes to shove, I think, is he a player that you really want stepping in, or would you rather a better quality player over the long term? And I still think, as much as I think Ben Davies has done well, we can do better. I think that is the reality. And I really do appreciate Ben Davies has been brilliant over the last few games, but I just still think he lacks certain qualities that really make that Ange system like perfect and like make it like truly impenetrable or truly unplayable. And that's always going to be the case when you have someone like Ben Davies in the team, however harsh it is to say, as much as I love him and appreciate him. But yeah, I think he's done a brilliant job. He definitely deserves credit for the job he has done. But I agree, I don't think there should be a scenario where in 18 months' time or something, we're looking at giving him a new contract. I would rather just move on at that point, and he would be, 32, 33. He would be getting on a bit. So I completely agree with both your sentiments on Ben Davies, to be honest. Next topic I want to talk about is an interesting one, and this is surrounding Kulusevski. Now, Kulusevski has come into the central role last few games. Obviously, since the Villa game, he's pretty consistently been starting there now. Obviously, he's been absolutely fantastic, hasn't he? He's been an absolute breath of fresh air in that role, really taking it by the scruff of the neck. Even he seems happier there in a weird way, even though I do still think he can play really well out wide. You know, he was asked about how was he adapted to the number 10, and he keeps saying, no, this is actually my role, this is where I started my career, this is where I feel most comfortable. One of the interviews, he said, this is the real Decky, he said in one of his interviews. Now, with Maddison stepping up his return, it does bring up a conversation of what we do. Obviously, with Sarr at the AFCON, that probably conversation won't be there, but when Sarr comes back, I guess there is a conversation about it. We'll go to you, Stel, first here. Do you think Maddison and Kulu can play together in central midfield? Do you think they could play together in a three?
100% yes. That would be. This is serious attacking football. When you're prepared to be more risk taking in that final third and put two attacking mids on the pitch. I would love to see a Spurs team where you've got Kulu and Maddison in those attacking roles, and as midfielders, and just have either Pape Sarr or Bissouma behind. Now they'd have to drop sometimes because they can't just be out and out attack the whole time. You do have defensive duties, but a Spurs team with Kulu and Maddison in that attacking line, I think would be immense. I do think though, for that to work, we need to fix the wide areas, because I do feel we're still lacking in those wide areas. If we can do that, then yes, because otherwise we're going to put too much emphasis on the attacking mids and not enough on those wider flanks. And if you go back and watch, in fact, Arne Slot did this really well with Feyenoord. He actually plays with two attacking mids, and because they've got the quality down the flanks, it works well. So that's kind of where I'm getting the thought process from. And I believe the way Ange plays, there's no reason why we can't do that. Will he do it? I don't know. But to answer your question, yeah, absolutely. Kulu and Maddison, both as attacking mids, yeah, all day long.
Obviously, we saw a glimpse of what that can look like maybe against Villa and against Man City, where he both started Kulu and Lo Celso together, didn't he? But you could make an argument that as much as on the ball we did look great, maybe the balance wasn't quite right, because we did start, we conceded a lot of chances during those periods as well, as much as we were brilliant on the ball. Ash, what do you make out of that? Do you think we could play them together and have that balance right in the midfield and make it work, or do you think we need a Bissouma with like a Sarr, then a number 10, to have that midfield really fully functioning?
It depends on who we're playing. It depends on the game state. And we, like you said before, I saw Tottenham play our best football against Villa in that first 30 minutes with Bentancur on. Now, you couldn't tell if Bentancur was a 6 or an 8. Equally with Lo Celso. Lo Celso was playmaking from deep. Maddison's done that before. So I don't see why we couldn't have a Bentancur sitting deep and then sometimes pushing forward and creating. If not, he wants to dribble, he can dribble. If he wants to pass, he can pass and open teams up, whether it be over the top or through the lines or just feeding the wings. Like Bentancur has that vision. And so that was my biggest critique to Sarr.
Ash, can I ask you a question? Ash, can I ask you something on this? Sorry to interrupt you. Could you see a Spurs team, maybe not every week, but like you said, it depends on the opposition. Could you see a Spurs team where you've got Kulu and Maddison in the attacking mid roles, and both Pape Sarr and Bissouma on the bench, and Bentancur plays in the 6?
This is exactly what I'm saying to you right now. So I'm saying Bentancur as the 6 because you couldn't tell if he was the 6 or the 8. Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, but I didn't know if you were dropping Pape Sarr and Bissouma in your thinking. But
I was.
You said, okay, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, because for me, Bissouma, the reason why people have kind of, questioned him is because he stopped doing that thing where he gets on the ball, half turn, dribbles, takes his man on. You see what I'm trying to say? Mm-hmm. And Bentancur, he can do that, but also he has the vision to pass. And with Højbjerg, his mind thinks too much. Is that pass on? Can I do it first time? Maybe let me take a touch and then pass it. Bentancur knows he's got the quality and the confidence. He can do that. But on the adjacent side, on the opposite side, you would have a Maddison. Maddison likes to drop in deep, pick it off the fullbacks at times, have that free roll, and he can create from deep. And I said it depends on the game or the team. So if we're playing a low block team, I think at times they want to have a lot of players in the middle and central. And so if you've got Maddison on the ball, you've got Bentancur on the ball, that's going to draw opposition out because they're thinking, hey, we can't give these type of players time on the ball. Do you know what I'm saying? Then Kulu is in between the lines. Someone's going to try and pick him up. Do you know how much gaps and holes we're going to open up? And if they don't, all three of those midfielders can shoot at will. So it's not just you're trying to stop shots from outside the box. You're now trying to stop through balls, crosses from diagonal. And then you've got wingers in like Son that has quality. And then if we buy another top winger and another top striker, like what more can I say? Imagine we've got a top forward that can finish his dinner at any given, like half chances, he finishes it. And then you've got a supreme winger that, like, say, like a Rafinha of that ilk, can cross a ball into the box. Teams will be nervous because you've got Rafinha to deal with, Son to deal with on one wing and the other wing. Then you've got a top striker like, I don't know, Tony Valovich or whatever in the middle of the box. We can have a focal point, but at the same time, the focal point, we don't even need it because we can have multiple attacks from different arrays. But then Bentancur is physical enough to win those challenges. And don't forget, Kulu is one of the hardest working midfielders in the league. He's covered the most ground out of any player in the league as well. So we're going to be defending from high up between those two players. And then don't forget Maddison. Don't sleep on Maddison because Maddison's been defending as well high up the pitch. He's been putting tackles in. And lots of people were surprised in how tenacious he was in getting that ball back. So I think everyone would think our midfield would be off balance, but actually, no, we're just going to be defending higher up. And then when you've got technical players on the ball, because don't sleep on Kulu. Kulu is mad technical. Like in that game, first touch into a player, boom, in the air, or 2 touches and he beats his man on a half turn, physical. Like what he lacks in pace, he makes up for his technical ability and his physicality as well.
Speed of thought as well. Speed of thought, I would say as well.
All three of them, speed of thought, all three of them, they could probably do like 1 touch, 2 touch between the three of them, create triangles. And the main thing for me, it's about fluidity, but going back to total football. That's what Spurs and Ange is trying to get. Total football, when you've got players that can play in multiple positions, because don't get twisted, Maddie, he can go out wide. He can become a wing at certain times. We've seen it. How many times we've seen him against Arsenal, get into that half space, cut back, score a goal for Son. We see it against, was it Bournemouth?
Luton,
cutting back. Do you know what I'm saying? That corner. So once you've got players, and that, going back to that Ben Davies thing, if you've got a centre back now, like a Romero, that can, like, I know what City were trying to do with that because Stones does it well, but if you've got a centre back that can join in the midfield, that's comfortable in the midfield, that can play balls from deep, or that can travel with it like Mickey van der Ven does on the half turn, we're a problem. I'm telling you, we're a problem. That's all I got to say.
And I feel like obviously getting Kulu in the centre solves 2 problems in a way because I wouldn't say it solves 2 problems because I still kind of like Kulu on the right, but you get Johnson in his favoured position on the right-hand side as well. And then I think Kulu has just looked devastating when you've put him in the centre. And I feel like you put Kulu on the right, you put Johnson on the left. I don't know about Johnson on the left. I think he just doesn't look as comfortable there, I feel, than he does on the right-hand side. And if you were to take Kulu out of the centre, you kind of have to put him back on the right, unless you maybe put Kulu on the left. Is that something you guys would be open to? I know he had a little cameo. He had a little cameo there against Newcastle on the left-hand side. But is that something maybe that could be a position for him?
I've been saying I've wanted to see Kulu on the left, but now I actually deep it. We need a top quality winger. And I understand why Ange said it, because he can see the picture now. He's like, actually, if we just get a top winger, then I've got the option to play Son up top, and then I've got the option to drop Son when needed and like preserve his career, because we're playing Son every single game. Do you see what I'm trying to say? But if
this is what I was saying.
Go on.
Ash, this is what I was saying. Like, with the attacking structure of the midfield, for me, it only works if we sort the wide areas out. Because without those wide players to stretch the game and to make those runs into the box and add to the attack, I just think we miss the whole purpose of playing more attacking midfielders. Because I agree with you guys. The wide areas, I'm still not convinced with Spurs at the moment.
Well, do you feel like... obviously, Son's been playing out wide last couple games, but obviously majority of the season, his goals have come from central striker. Rishi's now starting to fire at central striker, but can we rely on him long term? Do you think maybe, though, the options that we do have, that they're looking good recently, but you might not be sure about them, but is there enough to go with at the moment, or do you think we're desperate for something like in January to really freshen up that area?
It depends what we're going for. What it depends on the level and expectation as a fan, as a club, as Ange, the manager. Like, it depends on what the expectation is. If the expectation is like, we're doing well, we're just gonna coast through the season, then maybe we just because Son can play left, Richie technically can play left, Son can play up front, Rich can play up front, Johnson can play up front, Johnson can play out wide, Johnson can play left. So you've got all those positions covered technically, and you've got Solomon to come back as well. So theoretically, you could say, wow, we don't really need any wingers because we're quite stocked in that area. Maybe a striker, because a striker is specific for that particular role. Where if you've got a forward player, they're not really specific in that particular position because they're all covering 3 different areas, if I'm making sense. Do you know what I mean? But if you're kind of going for it, if you're saying, raw, we're winners and we're trying to change the mentality of the club, change the culture of the club, and act like a big boy club, then yes, you're going to need to up the levels. And as you were saying, Sim, and you still, in terms of Ben Davies, yeah, like, thank you very much. But if we want to push to the next level, like, sorry, you've got to be ruthless. You're gone. We need a top CB that can do multiple roles, that's on the ball. He can help the transition, he can help the attack, but defending, he's a beast as well. Do you know what I'm saying? So it all depends on the expectation of the fans and the club and Ange himself. If he's saying like, look, he came after that West Ham game, he was like, look, all this pretty football, I'm not in it. Yeah, I want it to win. I'm a winner. Yeah, and if he can kind of get that message over to the fans, and fans start talking like that, start talking with more chest, then all of a sudden we're already the most hated club anyway, but we're going to be a real problem for a lot of people. I'm telling you that for now, for free.
I think, look, this is a good way to segue into the last topic of the day, which is about January. Obviously, this is the season of gifts and getting what you want, hopefully. But will Spurs get what they want in January? Will Levy be a good set? Ange said he's going to wait to see if he's going to be in the naughty list or the good list this year in January to see what he's going to get. We'll go with you, Stel, first. Obviously, there's been a lot of talk. Transfers in the last few days, the likes of Todibo being linked with Spurs, a centre-back. Do you think Levy will back Ange in January? And what does backing Ange in January look like to you?
Do I think Levy will back Ange? I'm probably the worst guest you could have had on the show to talk about Daniel Levy. I mean, between Brian Daigle and I, you're asking for trouble, aren't you? History says no, but I'm torn because my heart says he won't, but my brain says he'll be an absolute moron of the highest level if he doesn't, because he's got the fans back on board, he's got the football that's good, we're in a good position in the league. Surely minimum Daniel Levy wants top 4, so at least back Ange for top 4 if anything, right? Look, I'll tell you what I think about the whole situation, and maybe you guys might think I'm a bit mad, but before the season started I said we're going to finish 8th or 9th, and then when Harry Kane left I said that's it, we're going to get 14th, 15th. I think we're in trouble. Then I started watching the brand of football and I was just blown away how quickly a manager can get such a style going with a group of players that were pretty much, mid-table last season. Ange has surprised me massively, and I have to say he's a top manager. This guy's a top manager, and it's not me being reactionary or knee-jerk. He's a top manager. He gets it. And then the start to the season, I said, do you know what? I think Spurs can get top 4. I really do. I completely reversed my opinion. I said, we can get top 4. And I said to a few friends, if we can stay injury free, get into January in the top 4 race and bring in 2 or 3 top players, I think Spurs are dark horses for the title. I said dark horses, meaning I don't think we will, but don't write us off. And injuries hit us, and that was it. Okay, forget this dark horse business. But we've somehow got through it playing good football, and the teams around us have kind of not impressed. I'm still not convinced by Liverpool. I'm not convinced by Arsenal. I think Arsenal are like a German team, very efficient, just churning out results. But I'm not convinced by the way they play. Man City, everyone's talking about Man City, but we know what they're capable of. But we're only a couple of points off them. And you look at Chelsea, they're all over the place. Man United, up and down. So I'm now looking at it thinking, hold on a minute. We're only 6 points off the top, a couple of games before January. If we buy 2 or 3 players in January and we're still kind of where we are now, are we dark horses for the title? And I'm going to say it. Yes, we are. I think Spurs are dark horses. Maddison comes back. Son comes back from African Nation with Papisar and Bissouma. Van de Ven comes back. Bentancur comes back. You've got the fringe players like the Lo Celsos and the Ben Davies and whatnot. They're doing a job. Suddenly, you got a half decent squad, and then you add another 2 or 3 players, a centre back, a proper left-sided, excited, explosive winger, and maybe a striker. And Richie's beginning to score. Guys, how are we not in the conversation? Is what I'm going to say. I'm not
and no European football as well. No European football.
No European football, right? I'm not saying we will, because I think to win it, you've got to be. Everything's got to go your way, and you need to get the rub of the green like consistently as well. But why are we not in that conversation if Levy does back Ange? So my answer to you is, or my thought on this, should I say, is I don't know if Levy's going to back Ange, but if he does, my God, we are in the conversation, and that's an exciting place to be as a Spurs fan. I just hope he does back him, because I've got a feeling if he doesn't, I don't know how Ange is going to react to it, because he's dropped a couple of truth bombs in the interviews after games. I want the players early. I'd like them early, because if I get them at the end of the window, then they haven't played in the early games in January to have an impact. That's him saying, can I have the players early so that we can actually have a good January? You've got Mourinho coming out with his comments about, oh, there is this one club that doesn't win trophies who sacked me. And so he's kind of dropping a bit of pressure on it. And I just hope Daniel Levy, for once, an opportunity has come. You had an opportunity with Poch. You had an opportunity with Redknapp in January many, many years ago. Just do what this manager needs now. I know there's probably a long-term plan to reboot the squad again in the summer and maybe the following summer. But when an opportunity comes like it has now, it really is going to be whichever club strikes whilst the iron is hot. I think they're going to be the team that goes on to win the trophies. And the same applies to Arsenal, Liverpool, Man City, and Tottenham and Aston Villa. The club that shows the ambition now, I think, is going to be the one that goes on and surprises everyone. So, Sim, I hope he does, because it's going to be another opportunity missed if he doesn't.
What does backing Ange look like, Stel? What for you? How many signings does that mean?
Well, over the long term, backing a manager for me means give him time, ride the rough as if it's the smooth. Don't panic and do some knee-jerk reactionist sacking. Keep the manager, keep it long term, and bring in the players that the manager and the recruitment team agree to bring in, and get rid of the ones they don't want at the club. That's what long term looks like. But short term for me, if we can get 3 players, and I'm being realistic, we're not going to sign 4, 5, 6 players in January, but if we can get 3, we've done 2 in the past. Can we get 3? Can we get a centre back, a left-sided winger, and either a striker or someone that can play up front or attacking mid and score goals? They've got to be, the main attribute is they get goals. So if we can get those 3 players and they work for Ange and they hit the ground running like Udogie, Van de Ven, Maddison did, listen, I agree with Ashmaik. Fire. I just see fire.
Ash, how many signings for you do we need in January to say that Levy's backed Ange?
I mean, I could tell you how much I'd like. I I would like 4 signings, but pragmatism is Levy's middle name, and I
Ash is
think
hungry.
he's more
Ash
like.
is very, very hungry.
But I'm starving, bro. You know, the ribs are you understand the way I'm so humble right now. But basically, I think we'll get. It depends how early we get transfers done over the line. The earlier we get business done, the more potential we have of getting more signings done. I think that's how the board works. They're opportunists. So if they see something last minute, they will go for it and they will go and grab it. That's how Levy works, in my opinion. From what I've seen over the years. So I think I'm hoping 3. You know, I think they will get 3 done because the centre back thing looks like it's happening. Ange has said it numerous times in the media, in the public. So I'm thinking centre back definitely. He said the winger first as well. So I think if we can nail centre back and a winger, and then if anything else comes up, he wants that 8. He wants, I think, competition for like a Pape Sarr. I'm not sure there's real competition for Pape Sarr at the moment, in terms of a player that's got high energy, covers a lot of ground, but can also finish, like can shoot, can pass, has a little bit of creativity as well, like in that attacking third. So I think that's his thinking. So yeah, if we can get that done, then it's a start. Then summer, then we go for it. Summer, we go again. Do you know what I mean? But it's interesting because, like Stell mentioned with Mourinho, God bless Mourinho for dropping that as well about the whole cup situation. Like we need to make a statue of him as well. But if remember, Redknapp came out as well, and he was saying like during the windows, like, you know, he asks at this player and that player, and he hopes that they take Ange seriously because he likes how Ange is playing. He likes the style of football. So either Redknapp is coming out backing the guy. So the more of these like ex-employees that were used to manage for us, or even ex-players are coming out. And the thing is as well, the difference between maybe like your Contes and your Mourinho's and your Nuno's is that Levy actually did a press conference, like a fan forum with this guy. So that just gives me a glimmer of hope that maybe things might change. But then I've got the other side of me that says, yeah, I don't know. And
20 years.
And he's no fool, he's no mug. And as soon as things go wrong, he'll be like, Man United, oh man, wait, Neville's already
Exactly.
massaging his shoulder.
That's the worry.
Neville's already massaging his neck.
That's the worry.
Oh, he's like, oh, Ange, just so great. I like the way you play aggressive. And
Already the flirting's out.
Hey, they're vibrating their butts violently for Ange. I'm telling you, bro. So
can I ask you a question, boys, on this?
Go on.
Right? If you look at Spurs, how we're structured now, the stadium's built, the financing's all organised, the money's coming in, the academy's built. They've got the manager that they want. They've got a happy squad. We've got good cash flow. Everyone's fighting to get tickets on match day. People are buying the kits. You've got the NFL. You've got all the income streams are healthy. You've now got a new football director, a sporting head chief officer, whatever he's called, a CEO of football. You've got this data analytical department. You've got Lange that's come in from Aston Villa. The team, the background, footballing people are there. They're all communicating. There can be no excuses, surely, to not have now, during this month, lined up your targets, began behind closed doors, conversations with agents, conversations with clubs, and lined it all up. So on the 1st of January, it's literally bang, 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 bang. Shoot them all down, bring them in. It's all laid out. That's strategic. It's tactical. The people are in place to do it. So do you guys see any reason why we can't get pretty much all of this done in the first 2 weeks of January when you look at how Spurs are now structured and what's been sold to us as fans as, look, we've been waiting for this moment now. It's all there. It's all ready to go.
all depends on people going out, I think. Or if we do loan deals, structured loan deals, I think that's how we've done it in the past, isn't it? Like you go for someone like a Jota who's on a loan or who's free, he hasn't got any deals with that Saudi club. We could potentially get a player like him in. Obviously, pay money for Tadido or whatever his name is. And then the rest, just like, then that's 2 players in already. Do you know what I mean? So then that's what I think. I don't know.
No,
Yeah,
I
but
think
Ash,
there's
what I'm
no
asking is-
excuse. There's no
Sorry, Sid.
excuse. There's no excuse for me in what you're saying in terms of to at least get one or two through the door. At least have the agreement very close, very early in the window. I don't want to see us scrambling around on deadline day like we were in the summer for Gallagher or Chalobah, or just basically we'll take whatever we can get on deadline day because we're scrambling around. There's no excuse to be performing like that as a football club anymore. I'm sorry, we've got everything in place. There's strategies, and Ange has been talking about his targets, but beforehand, surely. At this point now, we're gonna. I want to see us planning ahead of the window, so that when it comes to the window, there seems to be some sort of strategy in place as to how we go about getting our targets, as opposed to how it seems, which is we'll see who's available and we'll see if it's in our price range, and we'll scramble around for what we can get. Okay, essentially, and I don't think there's any reason to be operating like that anymore. I think we're in a very good place financially. I think as a football club, in terms of the structure of the club, in terms of how we're going about our business, it seems to be a lot more structured and in a lot better position. So I don't want to see us on deadline day in January be scrambling around for players, 100%.
I don't know if we'll get a striker, man. I want to get a striker.
I don't think we're going to get a striker in January.
The reason-
What we might get is like a winger who can play striker kind of thing. But I don't. Why would we get a striker when we have Richarlison and Son? Why would we?
That's what I'm thinking logically. Like, I think we need a left back more importantly. But I think if Mickey van der Ven, if we get a centre back that can play left back, then I think the club might think Mickey van der Ven can play left back if need be, and then if Udogie gets suspended in the future. But yeah, theoretically, you're right, man. I think striker would be nice, but
I think maybe in the summer, maybe when we reevaluate the situation, Richie, if he's still not doing it, then maybe if he leaves, we can get one in. I don't see us signing a striker while we still have Richie and Son on our books, because I think those two players can both play up front, and I don't see why we would bring in another striker to compete with those. I think we have those two. I think it's much more likely we'll bring in a winger, but maybe it's possibly like a winger who can fill in up front if need be. But I think I'd much rather a left winger than I would a striker right now, to be honest.
Is this not a lack of ambition though? And I'm just, I'm putting it out there because, like I said before, there's an opportunity that is in front of us. We've been here before. We've been here before many, many times with many managers where there's an opportunity, whether it's a cup final and we sack the manager before it, whether it's Redknapp who asks for 2 players and he gets 2 players that don't fit what he wanted, whether it's Pochettino who went 2 years without being backed, and if we had backed him, where could we have gone? Is this not yet another moment with Tottenham Hotspur, with this ownership, where we find ourselves in a position none of us thought we would, 6 points off the top, potentially in a title race? Not saying we're going to win it, but mathematically you can't say we're not. Playing some of the best football in the league. We've got all the Sky Sports commentators loving commentating Tottenham right now. They've even said it, especially Gary Neville. Is this not a moment where the board say, right, get the centre-back, get the winger, get the striker, Ange, go win us the league, dude. Go win us the league. Is it not a case of, if we don't do it, we're missing an opportunity? Because, yeah, I get it. Buy the striker in the summer, but in the summer, Arsenal become 10 times better. Man United at some point are going to get their game together. Chelsea aren't going to carry on like this forever. Man City certainly aren't going to be like this next season. This is what I'm saying. Strike when the iron is hot. Is that not now, guys? Does the ambition not need to be brought forward and do it now? Don't wait to the summer because the opportunity is now.
But we have a striker right now who's got 10 Premier League goals. One of the top goal scorers in the league in Son, playing up front. And then Richarlison now has 4 goals. He's starting to hit trainer form, and we know he's a striker. I know he hasn't done it for Tottenham by and large, but we know he is a striker who can score goals in the Premier League. He has shown that in the past, maybe not in a Tottenham shirt, but hopefully he's starting to show that now. I guess it will be dependent on...
He's not a 20-goal-a-year striker.
We have Son, but Son isn't he?
But think about it. You see,
Son is, yeah.
So we got a 20-goal-a-season striker, and then we got backup Richarlison. I'm not sure what more you could want in a striking duo.
But Son's not really... Son for me isn't really a striker. He's someone that can play in that role. But the thing with Son is, if Son's given the ball one-on-one with the goalie, or he only needs 2 touches to get a shot away, he's clinical. But if we play up against low blocks, or if we play where he's not kind of getting the service and he's got to drop deep like Kane did to create, he's not that player. What I'm saying to you is...
Yeah, but then we have Richarlison.
He's good in the air.
Which is important against low blocks. I'd argue.
The thing with Richarlison is that throughout his career, he hasn't really played as a centre forward. Only when he's come to Tottenham, he's actually played as centre forward. Deep it.
For Brazil he plays up. Richarlison for Brazil he plays up front, and for Everton in his last 18 months, Everton predominantly he was playing up front.
He was more of a wing. If you check it, it was more of a wing forward. He was not a centre forward. It was more of a wing forward.
I don't know how long he was at Everton for. Let's say he was there for what, 4 years, 2018 to 2022. He was there 4 years. I would say his first 2 years he was predominantly on the wing, and then I think the last 2 years he was predominantly up front. I would say, if you looked at the stats, that's probably what it would look.
I would argue he was only up front when Dominic Calvert-Lewin got injured. That was the only time he was up front for Everton. And so, like, at Spurs, he's actually trying to learn how to be a centre. He hasn't, for like a large amount of his career, he hasn't really been a centre forward. So, and I agree with what Stell was saying. With his head, yes. But in terms of suppose the game's really dead and you just need that one chance to bury and it falls to him. Can you say Richarlison's going to bury that chance? That's where the question mark is. And so we could miss out on a striker, wait until summer, and then that striker doubles in fold because all of a sudden he's like, okay, Santiago Jimenez is scoring 30, 40 goals now. Chelsea want him. Now Man U want him. Do you know what I'm saying? As opposed to maybe getting him in now. We might have missing that opportunity and we're stuck with Richarlison and we can't get a striker. I don't know.
Just to confirm, he played 152 games for Everton, 77 as a striker and 73 as a winger. That's left or right. So he was it's 50-50 pretty much, but he was just as much a striker as he was a winger when he was at Everton. I just think, look, I agree with what your point. I think in an ideal world, I'll probably want another striker, to be honest. Like if it was a perfect world, but it's not a perfect world, and I don't see. And look, let's be honest. If we want a striker who's going to improve on Son and Richarlison, we're spending big money here. I don't see Levy justifying a big money striker signing when we have a 20-goal a season striker in Son. We have a £60 million striker as backup in Richarlison, who's just coming into good form there. Isn't there enough goals between those two up front to be okay till the end of the season? Is there this massive need to spend big on a striker when we have goals in Son and Richarlison?
Well, where were the goals against Aston Villa and West Ham, Sim? Everyone said if Harry Kane was on the pitch,
and Haaland has games where he doesn't score as well. It happens sometimes.
Yeah, but with us, I feel that Spurs haven't battered the team as much as we haven't been battered. We haven't battered anyone either, other than Burnley. So that says to me we aren't taking enough chances. We're not clinical in front of goal. Like, how many Spurs fans have you heard say if Harry Kane was in this team right now? Oh my God. And that's what I'm talking about. Look, everyone wants to see a striker come in August, in the summer. Well, what I'm saying is, if you want a striker in August, why not do it now when the title is wide open? That's
Son has moved. Because in August, Son, we weren't really considering Son as our main number 9. And we didn't, and look, and his goal scoring now suggests he's very good at it. He's got 10 Premier League goals halfway through the season, so he's scoring a lot of goals. So, I mean, if we had a striker if we had 2 strikers who are really struggling for goals, I could maybe see more of a justification for it. I just don't see Tottenham doing that, to be honest. I don't see, we have 2 strikers there. Are we going to just spend massive money on the third striker just cause, basically? Is there any guarantee they're going to get more goals than what we have?
Well, this is the question, isn't it? What do I deem as Ange being backed? For me, it's ambition. If you're ambitious, you do it now. Because now is where the opportunity lies. Next season, I don't know what all the other clubs are going to do. I also don't know what Spurs are going to do. We might be really ambitious as well. But it's always let's wait till next year. What about next year? What about now? I want us to do something now. I get what your point is. When you've got Richie and Son, do you really want to go and spend money on a striker? But for me, the question is, do you want to win the league? Do you think we can if we buy a striker?
I think we don't. I think we if we buy a really good left winger, like a really good one, then I don't see the need to right now rush into buying a striker, to be honest. I don't really see that need. I think Son's got enough goals in him. He's look, who's a better finisher in world football than Son? No one. There's no one who's a better finisher in world football than Son. If you get him as a striker, you get a really elite or a really good left winger, then you got Johnson on the right, maybe rotating to Mikula. I think there's just there's enough there. Look, I don't know if even signing a striker is enough for us to win the league, unless you sign like a real good one. But I'm just saying, if you're signing a striker to improve on what we got, I don't know. It's big money. And I just don't see right now, like in January. January is also a market where you're going to have to overspend if you want your guy, because it's mid-season. Clubs are less willing to let players go, all that kind of stuff. And now for a centre-back, I see the need for it, because we definitely need that. We're struggling for numbers at centre-back, and we need to up the quality. Winger, we need that. But striker, we have two guys who can score goals.
If Son gets injured, then what? We saying then, if Son gets injured?
If Son gets injured, we have Richarlison.
Yeah, but then who plays on? Okay, so you're saying if we get a winger, then we're cool.
Yeah, I want a winger.
Richarlison's
I want a
not
winger.
Clinical like Son, though, is he? He's not clinical like Son.
You're never. Who are you buying? Who's as clinical as Son?
Well, I don't know. We've invested a lot of money in this data analytics department. Isn't their job to unearth the gems?
Son is like Son is like the
Davies.
best finisher in Europe.
Yeah, I get that, Sim, but it's about strengthening. It's about strengthening areas where we need, where there's a deficiency. When I look at Spurs this season, we aren't putting games to bed, partly because we're not taking chances, and that is partly down to not having another top striker at the club. I don't regard Richarlison as a top striker. I think he's just found a good little patch. Long may it continue. I hope Richarlison ends with 20 goals this season. That'd be phenomenal. I'd be in a humble pie for me, but I want someone that can actually add and scare defences, add to Tottenham's squad and scare defences. I think we need the left winger as well. I don't think it's one or the other. I think we need both.
I think long term we probably need both. I'm just saying from now to the end of the season. I don't know. I just can't see Tottenham doing it. I can't see Tottenham doing it.
That's my point. Sim, that's exactly my point.
It depends on Rishi. I mean, it depends on Rishi, because in the summer we might want to cut our losses on him and say, look, he's not good enough. But right now he's in good goal scoring form. I think 7 goal contributions already this season, 4 goals. He's just come back from surgery. He's looking sharp. So I want to give him a go. I don't want to just throw him by the wayside.
You just said long term we probably need another striker.
Oh, Son's 31.
Right, I'm saying long term, we don't know what's going to happen. Short term now, we've got a chance of maybe doing something. This is my whole argument. I think we all agree another striker needs to come to Spurs at some point. My argument is, can we show ambition now when an opportunity has arisen that we never thought would exist, where the league's wide open? That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, I'd love to say yes, but I just don't. I don't think many clubs in our position would sign a striker right now in that position. I don't think, in my opinion, when they've got 2 strikers there.
Arsenal are looking for one. I bet Arsenal are looking for one.
Well, there are rumours of them signing Ivan Toney, but is there enough goals between Jesus and Nketiah? I don't know. None of them are going to get as many as Son. Like Jesus has scored less than Jesus has got less goals than Richarlison this season. So no wonder they won the one.
I think Arsenal have scored as many goals as us this season in the league.
No, goals in general. I'm just saying those 2 strikers. Jesus is less than Richarlison.
Okay, I take back the word striker then. I want us to sign a top goal scorer. Whether he's left, attacking mid, striker, wing back. I want someone that comes in and adds goals to this team.
I agree with you. I think the wingers need to be contributing a bit more for the goals. I think 100%. Maybe a goal-scoring winger. I think they need to be because I think the strikers at the moment what was it 15 goals between them? They're doing okay. The wingers at the moment, how many goals are they on? Kulu's got 5, but a few of them have been from the centre. Johnson's got 1. Then I'm struggling. Who else is? I mean, Solomon's been out.
0.
Brian Hill 0.
Out.
Yeah, so I would say goal scoring winger. I think that's probably a more priority than a striker. And look, if we got time and if we got money to spend on a striker, I'm all for it. I'm not going to be unhappy if we sign a striker. I would just say centre back and winger are more of a priority. I think we should get them first. Then if we can get a striker, we can get a striker. That'll be brilliant.
So your priority is winger and then what?
Centre back, winger. Look, people saying centre mid, but we have a lot of centre mids. Unless we're going to sell Højbjerg and Skip in January, like we got Bentancur, Sarr, Basuma. Now Kulusevski can play there, Madison can play there, Lo Celso can play there. Like we got a lot of players there, and I know when you look at January, it looks threadbare because of AFCON and injuries and all that kind of stuff. But you don't just sign players on the base on the back of they're going to be missing because we're going to have 1 month where it's tough. You can't just permanently sign a player, maybe a loan deal, but I don't think like we should be spending big money on a centre mid because for 1 month we're going to be short. I don't think that's a proper way to deal with things, if you know what I mean. Unless we're selling Højbjerg and Skip, then we can sign one.
We're definitely signing just 2 players then. Just off the back of what you just said, we're only going to sign a centre back or a winger. Say no more.
All right, I'll take it. I'll take it.
From 4, he's got to 2.
And trust me, it'll be what I will be happy with 1 by the end of January. It'll make us sweat. It'll make us sweat. But look, guys, I know Stel, you got to leave before 6. We'll wrap it up. But I appreciate you guys coming with the panel show. That is it for today's panel, guys. Ashmatic, let people know where to find you if they want to see more of you.
Yeah, I'm on Southview Quays. I'd be so honored if you guys could come over, watch us. We've got a show tonight, Rivals. So want to be taunting some Liverpool fans. Arsenal will be there, of course. And we got a couple Man United fans on as well. But yeah, big up. Thanks for having me, Sim. Big up, Stel, as well. And big up to you in the chat, man. And the silent ones as well. I'm one of them. So
big up to you. I'm just going to put your channel in the live chat. So go check out Ashmatic at Southview Quays. And Stel, let the people know where they can find you as well.
Yeah, you can find me on Tottenham Away. I do a channel with Will Stewart, Iggy, Mari, and JP. We've got shows every day. We do everything Tottenham, like most channels do. Yeah, come over. Have a Merry Christmas, everyone, if you celebrate it. If not, enjoy the break. And I just, I would love Spurs to just get a win before Christmas against Everton and just keep the heat up and keep us excited going into the January window. So, yeah, Sim, Ash, big up to both of you.
Thanks for your time, guys. And I 100% agree. It'll be unbelievable getting that win against Everton and putting the pressure on the top 2 going into that game. That would just be incredible. But history states those are the usually games we drop points in. So we'll see. Look, it's a very exciting time to be a Tottenham fan at the moment. But really, really appreciate your guys' time. Thank you for the panel. Really appreciate all the comments and everyone interacting with the show. The clips will be out shortly. So stay tuned for that. Well, thank you for joining us on today's panel show. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.